Commander Zethkar stood before the massive viewing screen on Deep Watch 7, watching the small blue planet that orbited a yellow star. His 6 eyes studied the data streaming across his command console. The humans were busy as always, sending their tiny metal ships between their planet and its single moon. These creatures fascinated him in their simple ways. The Galactic Empire had been watching this species called humans for 3 full cycles now. Every report said the same thing: primitive, weak, and completely harmless. Their biggest ships could barely reach their own moon. Their weapons were simple explosives and basic energy tools. According to every test and measurement, humans posed no threat to anyone. Zethkar's communication officer approached his station with nervous steps. The young Vorthon's scales were pale with worry. "Commander, we have received direct orders from Fleet Command. We are to deliver the standard surrender message to the human homeworld immediately." The commander nodded slowly. He had done this many times before with other species. The process was always the same. The Empire would announce itself, demonstrate superior technology, and demand immediate surrender. Most species gave up within hours. The smart ones surrendered within minutes. "Send the message," Zethkar ordered. "Use the standard format. Give them 72 hours to respond." Far below on the blue planet, Admiral Katie Morrison sat in her office, deep underground in the North American Defense Complex. She was reviewing the latest reports from Luna Construction Facility when every alarm in the building began screaming at once. Red lights flashed throughout the corridors as soldiers ran to their battle stations. Admiral Morrison to the command center immediately, came the announcement over the speakers. "Priority Alpha emergency." Katie ran through the halls, her boots echoing off the metal floors. In 3 decades of military service, she had never heard a Priority Alpha alert. That level was reserved for only one thing: first contact with hostile, alien forces. The command center was chaos when she arrived. Dozens of officers worked frantically at their stations while massive screens showed data from around the world. Every radio telescope, satellite, and monitoring station on Earth had detected the same thing: an alien transmission directed specifically at their planet. "What do we have?" Katie asked the duty officer. "Ma'am, at 14:32 Eastern Time, we received this transmission on all frequencies simultaneously. The signal is coming from somewhere beyond Pluto's orbit. We've managed to decode most of it." The main screen flickered and alien text appeared, followed by rough English translation. Katie read the words and felt her blood turn cold. It was exactly what Earth's strategists had feared for decades: a demand for immediate and unconditional surrender. The message was simple and direct. The Galactic Empire controlled thousands of worlds and millions of species. Humanity had 72 hours to surrender completely or face total destruction. The aliens claimed their technology was so advanced that resistance was impossible. They promised that obedient species were treated well, while those who fought back were eliminated completely. "Get me President Sullivan immediately," Katie ordered, "and contact Defense Secretary Brown. We need an emergency meeting in the war room within the hour." President Jake Sullivan arrived at the underground facility exactly 53 minutes later. His face was grim as he studied the alien message. Defense Secretary Lisa Brown stood beside him, reading through intelligence reports that had been classified at the highest levels for years. "Admiral Morrison," the president said, "I need to know our options. Are we really as helpless as this message suggests?" Katie looked around the room to make sure they were completely secure. "Mr. President, what I'm about to tell you is known by fewer than 20 people on Earth. For the past 15 years, we have been preparing for exactly this scenario." She activated a holographic display that showed the Luna construction facility. 3 massive shapes hung in the construction bays, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built in space. The vessels were sleek and deadly-looking, covered in armor and weapon systems that seemed far too advanced for human technology. "Project Titan has been our most classified program since its inception," Katie explained. "We began this project after our deep space monitoring systems detected artificial signals from outside our solar system. We knew that someday we would encounter other intelligent species. We also knew that first contact might not be peaceful." Defense Secretary Brown studied the holographic ships with amazement. These are human designs? How is that possible? Our technology isn't advanced enough to build something like this. That's where you're wrong, Katie replied. Our technology is different, not inferior. We've taken risks that other species wouldn't dare attempt. Our ships run hotter, faster, and more efficiently than anything the aliens have ever encountered. We've also had some help. The Admiral activated another display showing wreckage recovered from various crash sites over the past decade. We've been collecting alien technology from scout ships and monitoring probes for years. Our engineers have reverse engineered their systems and combined them with human innovation in ways their original designers never imagined. President Sullivan leaned forward in his chair. Are you telling me we can actually fight back against this empire? Mr. President, the aliens made one critical mistake. They assumed we would react like every other species they've encountered. They expect us to be terrified by their superior technology and surrender immediately. They have no idea that humans respond to overwhelming odds by getting creative. Katie brought up tactical displays showing the 3 Dreadnoughts and their capabilities. Each ship carried experimental weapon systems that used alien technology as a foundation, but operated on completely human principles. The quantum fold drives could open jump points anywhere in the solar system instantly. The plasma cannons could punch through energy shields by varying their frequency in ways alien systems couldn't adapt to quickly enough. The guided fusion missiles used artificial intelligence to learn from each engagement and modify their attack patterns in real time. These 3 ships represent everything we've learned about warfare, engineering, and alien technology over the past 15 years, Katie continued. They're not bigger or more powerful than Imperial vessels. They're smarter, faster, and completely unpredictable. Defense Secretary Brown asked the question everyone was thinking. What's our plan? How do we respond to their ultimatum? Admiral Morrison smiled for the first time since the crisis began. We're going to do exactly what humans have always done. When faced with bullies who think they're unbeatable, we're going to prove them wrong. The Empire expects us to surrender or prepare pitiful defenses around Earth. Instead, we're going to take the fight directly to them. The 3 Dreadnoughts are fully operational and ready for combat deployment. Their crews have been training, in secret for years. In 60 hours, when the Imperial fleet arrives expecting to find terrified humans begging for mercy, they're going to discover something they've never encountered before, a species that fights back. President Sullivan stood up and walked to the viewing screen showing Earth's surface. Admiral Morrison, you have full authorization to implement whatever plan you think gives us the best chance of survival. The fate of our entire species is in your hands. Thank you, Mr. President. The aliens are about to learn why you should never underestimate human determination. Fleet Admiral Crixtel stood in the command center of his massive flagship, Dominion's Edge. The ship was 3 kilometers long and bristled with enough weapons to destroy entire planets. Around him, his tactical staff reviewed the intelligence, reports on humanity for what seemed like the 100th time. The pattern is completely standard, reported his intelligence officer, a thin Zalakian with purple skin. The humans have developed nuclear weapons, basic space travel, and primitive energy shields. Their response time to our ultimatum indicates they are likely preparing surrender negotiations. Crixtel nodded with satisfaction. In his 2 centuries of service to the Empire, he had overseen the surrender of 47 different species. The process was always identical. Superior technology was displayed, ultimatums were delivered, and intelligent species recognized their hopeless position. Only primitive creatures ever attempted resistance, and they were always crushed within hours. What about their military capabilities? Asked the fleet admiral. Laughable, replied the tactical officer. Their largest vessels are barely 200 meters long. They use chemical rockets for propulsion and kinetic projectiles for weapons. A single one of our scout ships could eliminate their entire space-based military without taking damage. In the detention level of the same ship, Colonel Ryan Davis sat in his holding cell, listening carefully to everything happening around him. He had been captured 6 months ago during a reconnaissance mission to gather intelligence on Imperial technology. The aliens thought he was just another primitive human, but Ryan had been trained specifically for this situation. During his months In captivity, Ryan had learned everything he could about Imperial military doctrine. The Empire's entire strategy was built around technological intimidation. When faced with superior firepower, species surrendered without significant resistance. The Empire hadn't fought a real war in over 2 centuries because no one had ever been foolish enough to challenge them. This gave Ryan crucial intelligence that Earth needed. The Imperial military was designed for conquest and intimidation, not actual combat. Their ships were massive and powerful, but they were also slow and predictable. Their tactics were outdated because they had never needed to adapt or improve them. Ryan had also observed something else important during his captivity. The alien crew members were confident to the point of arrogance. They could not imagine any scenario where a primitive species like humanity could pose a threat to them. This overconfidence would be their greatest weakness. Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison stood in the Luna construction facility, watching the final preparations for the 3 human dreadnoughts. The massive ships hung in their construction bays like sleeping giants, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor plating that incorporated both human and alien technology. The UES Liberty was the flagship of the small fleet. Captain Amy Rodriguez had been training with her crew for 3 years in preparation for this moment. The ship's experimental fusion core could generate more power than anything the aliens had seen from human technology. More importantly, it could do so while maintaining complete stealth until the moment of attack. Dr. Ben Parker, the chief weapons engineer, approached Admiral Morrison with his final systems report. All 3 ships are ready for immediate deployment. The quantum fold drives have passed every test. We can position them anywhere in the solar system within minutes of your order. What about the weapon systems? Morrison asked. Beyond our best expectations, Parker replied with obvious pride. The plasma cannons use alien energy technology, but we've modified them to operate in ways their designers never intended. Instead of maintaining constant frequency like Imperial weapons, ours shift and adapt continuously. Their shields won't be able to compensate fast enough. Admiral Morrison walked along the observation deck, studying each of the 3 ships. The UES Defiance, commanded by Captain Steve Thompson, carried the most advanced missile systems ever designed. Each warhead was guided by artificial intelligence that could learn and adapt during flight. The UES Retribution, under Captain Michelle White, was equipped with swarms of automated fighters that could overwhelm enemy defenses through sheer numbers and unpredictable attack patterns. The Empire is expecting us to behave like every other species they've encountered, Morrison said to her engineering team. They think we'll either surrender immediately or try to defend Earth with whatever primitive weapons we can gather. They have no idea what we've actually prepared for them. Meanwhile, Imperial communications intercepted human transmissions about evacuation procedures and civilian shelters. The Empire's intelligence analysts interpreted these as clear signs of impending surrender. They had no understanding that humanity was actually implementing wartime protocols developed specifically for asymmetric warfare against a technologically superior enemy. The Imperial Third Conquest Fleet began moving toward the Sol system with 50 battlecruisers, 12 Dreadnought-class vessels, and 3 planet-killer superweapons. The fleet's commander, War Marshal Thivan, was already planning victory celebrations. He boasted to his officers that this force could conquer a dozen species simultaneously. The humans will surrender before we even enter their system, Thivan declared confidently. Our intelligence reports indicate they understand the hopelessness of their position. We should expect complete capitulation within hours of our arrival. The War Marshal was particularly pleased with this assignment because it would be so easy. Conquering primitive species was always straightforward, and the humans appeared to be more primitive than most. Their chemical rockets were actually amusing compared to Imperial hyperdrives. Their nuclear weapons were toys compared to Imperial planet crackers. Back on Luna, the 3 human dreadnoughts received their final mission briefings. Captain Rodriguez gathered her senior officers in the Liberty's war room. The holographic display showed the expected approach route of the Imperial fleet and the positions where the human ships would wait in ambush. The aliens are going to arrive, expecting to find terrified humans broadcasting surrender messages, Rodriguez explained to her crew. Instead, they're going to encounter something they've never seen before: humans who refuse to give up. The plan was elegantly simple. The 3 dreadnoughts would position themselves throughout the solar system using their quantum fold drives, hidden behind asteroid fields and gas giant magnetospheres. When the Imperial fleet arrived and arranged itself in standard intimidation formation, the human ships would fold directly into close-range combat positions. Captain Thompson aboard the Defiance reviewed his missile targeting systems one final time. Each of his guided warheads could adapt its approach pattern in real time, learning from Imperial countermeasures and adjusting accordingly. The aliens had never faced weapons that could think and evolve during combat. Captain White, on the Retribution, prepared her fighter squadrons for immediate deployment. Each automated fighter was controlled by artificial intelligence that could process combat data and adapt tactics faster than any biological pilot. The Empire's point defenses were designed to stop conventional attacks, not swarms of learning machines. Admiral Morrison received the final confirmation from all 3 ships. All vessels report ready for combat deployment. Quantum fold drives are charged and standing by. Weapon systems are armed and fully operational. Very well, Morrison replied. Begin Operation Blindside. Take your ships to their assigned positions and wait for my signal. Remember, the aliens expect us to act like every other species they've conquered. Let's show them exactly how wrong they are. The 3 human dreadnoughts activated their quantum fold drives and disappeared from the Luna construction facility in flashes of blue light. Within minutes, they had positioned themselves throughout the solar system, invisible to Imperial sensors and ready to spring the most devastating ambush in galactic history. The Empire was about to learn that humans were unlike any species they had ever encountered. Admiral Morrison stood before the United Nations Emergency Assembly, addressing world leaders through quantum-encrypted channels that connected every major government on Earth. The massive display screens showed delegates from dozens of countries, all waiting to hear humanity's response to the alien ultimatum. Ladies and gentlemen, Morrison began, in 18 hours, the Galactic Empire will arrive expecting our complete surrender. Instead, they will receive humanity's formal declaration of war. The reaction was immediate and intense. Delegates began shouting questions while others demanded to know if Earth had any chance of survival. Morrison raised her hand for silence and continued with calm confidence. Our response will be delivered personally by Colonel Ryan Davis, who has just been rescued from Imperial custody during a carefully planned intelligence operation. His mission is to ensure the aliens understand exactly what they're dealing with. At that moment, Colonel Davis was aboard a small human transport, approaching the Imperial flagship. The aliens believed he was carrying humanity's terms of surrender, but his real mission was far different. Hidden in his uniform were quantum communication devices that would allow Earth's commanders to monitor the Imperial fleet's reaction in real time. Fleet Admiral Crixtall received Davis in the main conference room of Dominion's Edge. The massive chamber was designed to intimidate visiting delegates with its towering ceilings and holographic displays of Imperial power. Dozens of alien officers filled the seats, eager to witness another species' capitulation. Colonel Davis, Crixtall said, in heavily accented English, I trust you bring humanity's acceptance of Imperial terms? Ryan stood at attention and looked directly at the Fleet Admiral without showing any fear. I bring humanity's official response to your ultimatum. We have carefully considered your offer. Excellent, Crixtall replied with satisfaction. The TI. Empire is always pleased when intelligent species recognize reality. What are your surrender terms? Ryan smiled slightly and delivered the message that would change galactic history. The United Earth Defense Fleet formally rejects your ultimatum and hereby declares war on the Galactic Empire. We will never surrender, never submit, and never bow to alien tyranny. The silence in the conference room was absolute. Every alien officer stared at Ryan in complete disbelief. In over 1,000 years of Imperial expansion, no primitive species had ever dared to declare war on the Empire. The concept was so foreign that many of the aliens seemed unable to process what they had just heard. Fleet Admiral Crixtall was the first to recover from his shock. You must be mistaken, Colonel. Your species cannot possibly believe it can fight the Galactic Empire. We have technology beyond your comprehension and military forces that could crush your entire civilization. We understand your capabilities perfectly, Ryan replied calmly. We also understand that you have no experience fighting enemies who can actually fight back. That's about to change. Back on Earth, Captain Amy Rodriguez initiated the final launch sequence for the Dreadnought program. The 3 human vessels had been waiting in their hidden positions throughout the solar system, but now they powered up their revolutionary fusion cores to full operational status. The Liberty's fusion core was designed to run far hotter and more efficiently than Imperial technology by accepting higher risks and maintenance requirements that alien species would never tolerate. Human engineers had chosen performance over safety margins, creating engines that could outrun and outmaneuver anything in the Imperial fleet. Dr. Parker monitored the power readings from his engineering station. All systems are operating within acceptable parameters. Core temperature is at maximum sustainable levels. We're ready for combat operations. The Imperial Third Conquest Fleet was already approaching the outer edge of the Sol system when Ryan delivered his message. War Marshal. Thyvon commanded 50 battle cruisers, 12 Dreadnought-class vessels, and 3 planet-killer superweapons. The force was massive enough to conquer entire star systems. This is impossible, Thyvon declared when he received word of humanity's declaration of war. No primitive species has ever been foolish enough to challenge the Empire directly. Their tactical analysis must have failed completely. The War Marshal immediately ordered his fleet into standard conquest formation. The plan was to demonstrate overwhelming firepower by arranging his ships in a broad line that would be visible to human observers for hours before the actual attack began. This psychological warfare had proven effective against countless other species. What Thyvon didn't know was that Imperial intelligence had failed to detect that the human dreadnoughts had already left their construction facilities. Using quantum fold drives that operated on principles the Empire had never encountered, the 3 vessels had positioned themselves throughout the Sol system completely undetected. Captain. Rodriguez coordinated with her sister ships through quantum-entangled communication arrays that were impossible for Imperial sensors to intercept or decode. The technology allowed instantaneous communication across any distance without electromagnetic signals that could be detected or jammed. Defiance and retribution, this is Liberty Actual, Rodriguez transmitted. Imperial fleet has entered our engagement zone. All ships report readiness status. Captain Thompson aboard the Defiance confirmed his vessel's preparations. Liberty, this is Defiance Actual. All missile systems are armed and ready. Targeting solutions are locked and updated continuously. We are ready to engage. Captain White, from the Retribution, reported her fighter squadron status. Liberty, this is Retribution Actual. All fighter wings are powered up and ready for immediate deployment. Artificial intelligence systems are active and learning Imperial fleet patterns. The human strategy exploited the Empire's greatest weakness, their complete over-reliance on technological superiority and their total lack of experience with actual combat. Imperial vessels were built for intimidation and one-sided massacres against helpless enemies, not for fighting opponents who could hit back effectively. Admiral Morrison watched the tactical displays from her command center deep beneath Earth's surface. The Imperial fleet was moving exactly as human strategists had predicted, following doctrine that was centuries old and completely predictable. The aliens are arranging themselves in standard intimidation formation, Morrison observed to her staff. They expect to spend several hours approaching Earth while broadcasting threats and demands. They have no idea what's waiting for them. President Sullivan joined Morrison in the command center, along with Defense Secretary Brown and the other members of Earth's War Cabinet. The next few hours would determine whether humanity survived as a free species or became another conquered world in the Imperial collection. Are you certain our ships can handle their entire fleet? The President asked. Mr. President, Morrison replied, our 3 dreadnoughts are not trying to match the Empire's firepower. Instead, they're designed to exploit Imperial weaknesses that no one has ever challenged before. The aliens are about to face something they've never encountered: human creativity applied to warfare. The Imperial fleet continued its approach, completely unaware that human vessels were already in position around them. War Marshal Thyvon was planning victory celebrations and discussing how quickly humanity would surrender once they witnessed Imperial power firsthand. Colonel Davis remained aboard the Imperial flagship, now under guard, but still able to monitor alien communications through his hidden devices. The Imperial officers were confident that human resistance would collapse within minutes of actual combat beginning. Admiral Morrison, Davis transmitted through his quantum communicator. The Imperial fleet is exactly where we need them to be. They're following standard doctrine and moving into perfect position for our ambush. Recommend executing Operation Blindside immediately. Morrison looked at her tactical displays one final time. 3 human dreadnoughts waited in perfect positions. Around the Imperial formation, 50 alien warships approached in predictable patterns, completely unaware of the trap closing around them. All ships, this is Fleet Command, Morrison transmitted. Execute Operation Blindside immediately. Show the galaxy what humans are capable of when our backs are against the wall. The battle for humanity's freedom was about to begin. The Imperial Third Conquest Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation. War Marshal Thyvon stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. 50 battlecruisers, 12 Dreadnought-class vessels, and 3 planet-killer superweapons spread across space in an intimidating line that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Long-range sensors detect the primitive human vessels exactly where intelligence predicted, reported his tactical officer. They appear to be maintaining defensive positions around their homeworld. No signs of advanced technology or significant military preparation. Thyvon nodded with approval. The humans were following the same pattern as every other species the Empire had conquered. Their small chemical fuel ships clustered around Earth like frightened animals, exactly as Imperial doctrine predicted they would. Begin standard approach procedures, the War Marshal ordered. Maintain intimidation formation and broadcast surrender demands every 30 minutes. The humans should capitulate long before we reach their planet. What the Imperial fleet didn't realize was that they were looking at decoy ships and sensor ghosts created by human technology. The real Earth defense fleet consisted of 3 vessels that were completely invisible to Imperial detection systems, hidden throughout the solar system, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Captain Amy Rodriguez commanded the UES Liberty from her position near Jupiter, concealed within the gas giant's massive magnetosphere. The electromagnetic interference made it impossible for Imperial sensors to detect her ship, while human quantum sensors tracked every movement of the alien fleet with perfect clarity. All stations, this is the captain, Rodriguez announced to her crew over the ship's internal communication system. The Imperial fleet is moving into our engagement zone. They have no idea we're here, which gives us the element of surprise we need to even the odds. The Liberty's fusion core hummed with barely contained energy, running at temperatures that would terrify alien engineers. Human technology prioritized performance over safety, accepting risks that other species would never dare attempt. This philosophy gave human ships advantages that Imperial designers had never considered possible. Captain Steve Thompson aboard the UES Defiance monitored his missile systems from his position behind a large asteroid field near Mars. Each guided warhead in his arsenal was equipped with artificial intelligence that could adapt and learn during flight. The weapons would analyze Imperial countermeasures in real time and modify their approach patterns accordingly. Weapons officer, report status of all missile systems, Thompson ordered. Sir, all launch tubes are loaded and ready. Targeting solutions are continuously updated and locked on primary Imperial vessels. Artificial intelligence systems are active and learning enemy movement patterns. Captain Michelle White commanded the UES Retribution from her hiding place among Saturn's rings. Her ship carried swarms of automated fighters, each one guided by artificial intelligence systems that could process combat data faster than any biological pilot. The fighters were designed to overwhelm enemy defenses through unpredictable attack patterns and superior numbers. The Imperial fleet continued its approach, following centuries-old doctrine that had never failed before. War Marshal Thyvon expected the humans to spend these hours in growing terror as they witnessed the approaching destruction of their civilization. Sir, reported his communications officer, we are receiving scattered transmissions from the human homeworld. Most appear to be evacuation orders and emergency broadcasts. No formal surrender offers have been detected. They are still in denial, Tyvon replied with amusement. Continue the approach. When they see our weapons charging, they will abandon this foolish resistance immediately. Admiral Morrison watched the tactical displays from her underground command center on Earth. The Imperial fleet was moving exactly as human strategists had predicted, following standard procedures that made them completely predictable. Imperial fleet has reached the halfway point to Earth, reported her tactical officer. They are maintaining standard intimidation formation with no defensive precautions. All 3 of our vessels are in perfect position for simultaneous attack. Morrison had studied every detail of Imperial military doctrine during the years of preparation for this moment. The Empire's greatest weakness was their absolute confidence in their technological superiority. They had never needed to develop real combat tactics because no enemy had ever been able to challenge them effectively. Signal all ships, Morrison ordered. Execute Operation Blindside immediately. Captain Rodriguez received the order and immediately activated her ship's quantum fold drive. The technology allowed instantaneous movement across vast distances by opening temporary holes in spacetime. In the blink of an eye, the UES Liberty appeared directly above the Imperial formation at point-blank range. Simultaneously, the UES Defiance materialized on the left flank of the alien fleet, while the UES Retribution appeared on the right. The 3 human dreadnoughts had jumped directly into close-range combat positions that Imperial doctrine never anticipated any enemy could achieve. The opening salvo from the human vessels was devastating beyond anything the aliens had ever experienced. The Liberty's experimental plasma cannons fired concentrated bursts of energy that shifted frequency continuously, preventing Imperial shields from adapting to the attack. 8 Imperial battlecruisers exploded within the first 30 seconds of combat. Captain Thompson's missile barrage from the Defiance overwhelmed Imperial point defenses through sheer intelligence and adaptability. Each warhead learned from the countermeasures aimed at it, adjusting its approach pattern to exploit weaknesses in enemy systems. 12 guided fusion missiles penetrated Imperial shields and crippled 4 more alien vessels. The Retribution deployed, its fighter swarms in attack patterns that no Imperial tactician could predict. The automated fighters used artificial intelligence to coordinate their assaults, creating overlapping fields of fire that Imperial defenses couldn't counter effectively. 3 Imperial dreadnoughts found themselves surrounded by dozens of small, fast-moving targets that seemed to anticipate their every defensive move. War Marshal Tyvon stared at his tactical display in complete disbelief. In less than 10 minutes of combat, his fleet had lost 15 vessels to 3 unknown ships that had appeared from nowhere. The humans had technology and tactics that Imperial intelligence had never detected. How is this possible? Tyvon demanded of his officers. Where did these ships come from? How are they penetrating our shields? His tactical officer was frantically trying to analyze the human weapons. Sir, their energy weapons operate on principles we've never encountered before. They change frequency faster than our shields can adapt. Our defensive systems are designed for conventional Imperial-style attacks. The human missiles were even more troubling. Each warhead seemed to learn from Imperial countermeasures and adjust accordingly. Traditional point defenses that could stop thousands of conventional missiles were being overwhelmed by dozens of thinking projectiles. Captain Rodriguez coordinated the continuing assault through quantum-entangled communications. All ships, focus fire on Imperial command vessels. Target their communications arrays and command structures. We need to disrupt their coordination. The Liberty's plasma cannons concentrated on the Imperial flagship, punching holes through energy shields that were supposed to be impenetrable. The ship's armor began glowing white-hot, as human weapons found weak points that Imperial designers had never considered. Colonel Ryan Davis, still aboard the Imperial flagship, watched the battle unfold from his holding cell. The alien guards had forgotten about him completely as they struggled to understand what was happening to their supposedly invincible fleet. Through his quantum communicator, Davis reported to Admiral Morrison. Imperial command structure is in complete chaos. They have no idea how to respond to our tactics. Their entire doctrine is built around technological intimidation, not actual combat. The Imperial fleet attempted to return fire, but their weapons were designed for destroying helpless planets and defenseless ships. The human dreadnoughts were small, fast, and equipped with defensive systems that could adapt to Imperial weapons as quickly as Imperial shields had once adapted to conventional attacks. Captain White's fighters swarmed around Imperial vessels, like angry insects, targeting sensor arrays, weapon systems, and engine components. Each fighter was individually weak, but together they created a coordinated assault that Imperial point defenses couldn't handle. "Sir," reported the Retributions, "Fighter Control Officer, enemy vessels are attempting to retreat to hyperspace. Recommend immediate intercept." "Negative," White replied. "Let some of them escape. We want survivors to report what happened here. The galaxy needs to know that the Empire can be defeated." War Marshal Thivan realized his fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy he didn't understand. In 30 minutes of combat, he had lost over half his vessels to 3 human ships that seemed to anticipate every Imperial tactic. "All ships, retreat immediately," Thivan ordered. "Fall back to hyperspace and report to Fleet Command. The humans have technology and capabilities that were not in our intelligence reports." News of the battle spread throughout the galaxy within hours, through the Empire's own communication networks. The defeat of the Third Conquest Fleet sent shockwaves through every Imperial world and subject species. For the first time in over a millennium, the Galactic Empire had suffered a major military defeat. Emperor Vex Thule sat on his throne in the capital city of Zenthos Prime, reading the battle reports with growing disbelief. The massive chamber was filled with his military advisors, all of whom seemed unable to comprehend what had happened in the Sol system. "Fleet Admiral Kriegstall," the Emperor said in a voice cold with fury, "explain to me how 3 primitive vessels destroyed an entire conquest fleet. Your intelligence reports claim the humans possessed no advanced technology." Kriegstall knelt before the throne, his scales pale with terror. "Your Majesty, the human vessels demonstrated capabilities that our sensors never detected. They appear to have developed quantum fold technology and adaptive weapon systems far beyond what we believed possible for their species." "You failed," the Emperor declared simply. "Your monitoring station was supposed to provide accurate intelligence on human capabilities. Instead, you delivered reports that nearly cost us an entire fleet. You will face immediate court-martial for incompetence." The Emperor turned to his remaining military commanders. "War Marshal Thivan managed to escape with some vessels. What does he report about human tactics?" General Kithrin, the Empire's senior tactical advisor, stepped forward with obvious reluctance. "Your Majesty, the surviving officers describe human weapons that adapt during combat and ships that can appear instantly in any position they choose. The humans also demonstrated tactical coordination that suggests advanced artificial intelligence systems." "That's impossible," another advisor protested. "Our xenobiology reports indicate humans are barely out of their primitive stage. They should not possess such advanced technology." Dr. Ben Parker stood in the Luna construction facility, addressing Earth's military leadership through secure quantum communication channels. His engineering teams had been working around the clock to analyze data from the first battle and improve human weapon systems. "The engagement exceeded all our expectations," Parker reported to Admiral Morrison. "Our adaptive weapons performed perfectly against Imperial shields. The plasma cannon's frequency variation capability completely overwhelmed their defensive systems." "What about our defensive performance?" Morrison asked. "Outstanding. Imperial weapons are designed for overwhelming firepower against stationary targets, not for engaging fast-moving vessels with adaptive defenses. Our ships took minimal damage despite being outnumbered 16-1. Admiral Morrison studied the tactical reports from all 3 human vessels. The UES Liberty, UES Defiance, and UES Retribution had performed flawlessly during their first combat test. More importantly, the artificial intelligence systems aboard each ship had learned valuable lessons about Imperial technology and tactics. Captain Rodriguez submitted her after-action report from the Liberty. "Imperial vessels are impressive in size and raw power, but they're slow to adapt to unexpected situations. Their crews showed excellent discipline but poor tactical flexibility. They followed standard procedures, even when those procedures were clearly failing. The battle had also provided crucial intelligence about Imperial technology. Human scientists were already analyzing wreckage from destroyed alien ships, discovering new ways to improve Earth's defenses and weapons systems. Throughout Imperial, space subject species began receiving reports of humanity's victory through underground communication networks. The news spread like wildfire among populations that had been enslaved by Imperial forces for centuries. On the mining world of Kepler-7, human-like creatures called the Zelaki gathered in secret to discuss the implications. The humans actually fought back and won, whispered their leader, an elderly female named Nithara. If one species can defeat the Empire, perhaps others can as well. Similar conversations were taking place on dozens of worlds. Species that had surrendered without fighting began questioning whether they had made the right choice. Resistance movements that had been dormant for generations started planning new operations against Imperial occupation forces. Colonel Ryan Davis, now promoted to general after his successful intelligence mission, established the first human embassy on the neutral world of Kesrith Station. The massive space station served as a trading post and diplomatic center for species that remained independent of Imperial control. The Galactic Empire wants you to believe that resistance is futile, Davis announced to representatives from 30 different species. They want you to think their technology makes them unbeatable. The human victory proves that superior technology means nothing without superior tactics. The response was immediate and enthusiastic. 3 species formally requested military assistance from Earth. 5 others offered to share intelligence about Imperial fleet movements and technology. For the first time in centuries, the Empire faced the possibility of organized multi-species resistance. Back on Earth, President Sullivan addressed the United Nations and the world's population through global broadcast networks. Today, humanity proved that we will never surrender to tyranny, no matter how powerful it may appear. We have shown the galaxy that freedom is worth fighting for. Defense Secretary Brown announced that Earth's shipyards were already constructing 12 additional Dreadnoughts, each one incorporating lessons learned from the first battle. The Empire made the mistake of giving us time to prepare. They won't make that mistake again, but we're ready for whatever they send against us. Admiral Morrison received intelligence reports indicating massive Imperial fleet movements throughout their territory. The Empire was calling up reserve forces that hadn't seen action in decades, preparing for total war against humanity and its potential allies. They're going to throw everything they have at us, Morrison told her staff during a strategy meeting. The Emperor cannot allow our victory to inspire other species to rebel. They'll try to crush us completely to maintain their reputation for invincibility. Captain Amy Rodriguez and her crew continued patrolling the outer solar system aboard the Liberty. Their sensors detected Imperial scout ships trying to gather intelligence on human defenses, but the alien vessels fled whenever human ships approached. They're afraid of us now, Rodriguez observed to her executive officer. The Empire has never faced an enemy that could match their technology with superior tactics. They don't know how to respond to a species that refuses to follow their predictions. The 3 human dreadnoughts had proven that smaller, more intelligent vessels could defeat larger Imperial ships through tactical superiority and technological innovation. More importantly, they had done so while remaining in the Sol system, demonstrating human capabilities without revealing the full extent of Earth's military preparations. Dr. Parker's engineering teams were already working on next-generation weapon systems based on combat data from the first battle. We've identified several weaknesses in Imperial technology that we can exploit even more effectively, he reported to Admiral Morrison. Their ships are built for intimidation, not actual warfare. The Empire's response came exactly as Earth's strategist predicted. Emperor Vaxthul announced the mobilization of the Imperial Reserve Fleet, over 300 vessels that represented the Empire's most advanced military technology. The fleet would be commanded by Grand Admiral Zixthul, the Empire's most experienced military commander. But as the Empire prepared for total war against humanity, they faced an uncomfortable truth that no Imperial leader wanted to acknowledge. The humans had defeated a major Imperial fleet using only 3 ships. Earth's real military capacity remained completely unknown. and human dreadnoughts hadn't even left their home system yet. Admiral Morrison concluded her final report to President Sullivan with a simple observation. The Empire made a critical error in judgment. They assumed that technological superiority automatically translates to military superiority. We've proven that intelligence, creativity, and determination can overcome even the most advanced weapons. The story ended with a message being broadcast across all Imperial frequencies. Admiral Morrison spoke directly to every species in the galaxy through captured Imperial communication networks. This is Admiral Katie Morrison of the United Earth Defense Fleet. To all free peoples of the galaxy, you are not alone. Humanity stands with you against Imperial tyranny. To the Galactic Empire, your reign of intimidation is over. You have learned today that advanced technology means nothing without the will to use it effectively. Human dreadnoughts have shown you what happens when innovation meets determination. We did not seek this war, but we will finish it. Every species deserves freedom, and humanity will fight to ensure that freedom survives in this galaxy. The Empire's massive fleets were already moving toward Earth, preparing for the largest military campaign in galactic history. But they would face an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered. Humans who refused to surrender, refused to submit, and refused to accept defeat. And as Imperial forces gathered for their assault on humanity, one fact remained unchanged. The human dreadnoughts still hadn't even left the Sol system.